Folks, just for a moment, I don't understand why President Biden and his top officials keep denying that Iran is the key paymaster and planner behind the barbaric Hamas invasion of Gaza. Now, look, to his credit so far, President Biden has fully supported Israel. To his credit. His Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, who's a veteran of the successful wars against ISIS, is now pledging U.S. military deployment to Israel if need be. This is good. But here's Joe Biden on 60 Minutes over the weekend. I don't get it.
Is Iran behind the Gaza war?
I don't want to get into classified information, but to be very blunt with you, there is no clear evidence of that.
At this point, no evidence that Iran is behind any of this.
Correct. Now, Iran constantly supports Hamas and Hezbollah. I don't mean that. But in terms of did they have foreknowledge? Did they help plan the attack? There's no evidence of that at this point.
Well, again, with all due respect, I don't get this. Look, on October 9th, back on October 9th, the Washington Post ran a long story, quote, Hamas received weapons and training from Iran, officials say, all right? And the day before, on October 8th, the Wall Street Journal ran a headline story, quote, Iran helped plot attack on Israel over several weeks, end quote. And Ali Baraka, who was some kind of Hamas big shot telling Russian TV that, and I'm going to quote, our allies are those that support us with weapons and money. First and foremost, it is Iran that is giving us money and weapons, end quote. Now, and all these stories talk about meetings in Beirut just prior to the Hamas barbaric invasion, and those meetings included Iran puppet Hezbollah. European officials quoted as confirming Iran's key role. So, why is Biden protecting Iran? What is he hiding? Now, he and his top people keep telling us the Iranian economic and energy sanctions have not been lifted or relaxed. But we already know from key data sources that Iran has accumulated $80 billion of oil revenues at least, and a huge increase in oil sales to China, and an enormous jump in their foreign exchange reserves, all in the last couple of years. Well, where's that coming from? These are hard facts. Now, the U.S. has not blocked Iranian shipping or prevented airplane overflights or applied secondary banking sanctions to Iran commerce of any kind. We have not booted Iran out of the world dollar system. We know this. Why lie about it? Incidentally, if Iran's not calling the shots, then why is the Iranian Foreign Ministry ludicrously claiming today, Monday, that Hamas was ready to release its hostages if Israel ceases its airstrikes along the Gaza Strip? Now, this is an insane story. There's not a shred of truth to it. And of course, Israel will do no such thing. As former American ambassador to Israel, Mr. David Friedman, who will be here in just a moment, he just wrote, Israel must achieve complete annihilation of Hamas. No more containment. There isn't going to be any such stupid deal from Iran or Hamas or any of these terrorists. But it sure does sound like Iran is the spokesperson for Hamas. Of course, Iran has been bankrolling and masterminding all these terrorist groups for many years. Iran's the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the Middle East, and perhaps the rest of the world for that matter. The question is, why would President Biden quibble over this? Because that's what his 60 Minutes quote sounds like. He doesn't want to give away classified info, so he's doing one of these ambiguous quibbles. My final thought? How about this? Let the Israeli Defense Forces take care of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. And as for the U.S., let me suggest that the U.S. could really make a great contribution if it implemented all of the energy, banking, and business sanctions on Iran that have been mandated by Congress. One way to crush Hamas, is to bankrupt Iran with no quibbles. All right?